I was craving a dry, smoked rub type chicken. So I'm gonna make this dry rub. Equal parts smoked paprika, some parsley, and some oregano. Any family member in my family, I always supply them with some house seasoning. Garlic powder, onion powder, sweet paprika, salt and pepper. Add just a little bit more salt. Some brown sugar in there. It's gonna get nice and caramelized on the grill when it smokes. All right, that's done. So I got a 5-pound bird here, a whole roaster. Take that backbone out, and that's gonna help the chicken cook much faster. And I'm gonna cut it in half. All right, there we go.
What you been doing since I've been out there sweating on that grill?
You act like you put something on the grill. It's like all you did was get it started. What?
Still, it's not. So what you doing now?
I'm just rubbing the chicken down with the rub that I made with my house seasoning, the light brown sugar, you know, all that jazz. Getting underneath there, getting in the cavity, you know what I'm saying? You know how we do it, flavor all around. All right, Ma, thank you. Let me put this on here. I'm gonna get it on the grill. I like to keep the grill about 250, 300 when you're doing indirect smoking. Coals on the right side, I'm gonna put the chicken on the left. The smoke inside the grill is cooking the chicken versus directly putting it on top of the coals. It's gonna be infused with that smoky flavor. Let it stay on there for about 45 minutes to an hour. Then I'm gonna take those bad boys over, put on the other side towards the end and get a nice little char and those grill lines on top. I'm excited. My mom loves Alabama white sauce. She puts it on every like barbecue ribs. I mean, it's better for like chicken and pork. So that's about a cup of mayo, some apple cider vinegar because it is a vinegar-based sauce, about 2 tablespoons. Some Dijon mustard goes in there, just a squirt.
Okay.
A little horseradish, a little zest, a little zip, a little dry mustard in there as well. Dry mustard just complements that Dijon that we're already using. A little hot sauce, a little heat, a few dashes, salt, pepper. And I kind of like to go heavy on that pepper. Brown sugar just to kind of mellow everything out because I'm using so much vinegar and hot sauce. The juice of half of a lemon. So it's a little tangy, it's a little sweet.
So you said the vinegar is not gonna be too much?
That's how you like your sauce. Trying to question me.
Oh, excuse me.
Let me taste it. I think I got it now.
That's it?
Perfection.
I'm gonna taste it because I'm the one that likes the sauce.
Let's see.
That's it. I taste the lemon juice. You know, I taste the vinegar.
It's creamy, a little sweet. Let's see, what that brown sugar does is more so like mellow it out versus it being a really sweet sauce. Okay, let me finish up the chicken, and I know you're gonna clean up because that's what you always do.
That's exactly what I do. I clean as I go. Kardea will tear up a whole kitchen.
Ooh, look at that chicken. It's nice and brown and pretty. Skin side down first. Most of the cooking got done over here with the indirect smoke. What I'm doing right now is just basically getting that char on the skin side. Probably around, I would say like the 12-minute mark, I'm gonna flip it over and let that other side get nice and grilled as well. So my brother thinks he's a grill master. I keep telling him, no matter where I am, whether it's Charleston, Edisto, I am still the grill master. Ain't that right, Ma?
Show you right.
The dogs think so. Chicken has to cook to 165. That's where it's the safe zone. Put it in the thickest part of the chicken right here in the breast. Yep, actually way up to temp. So let's get it off. Ooh, you see the juices coming out of that? That smells incredible. The spices, that house seasoning, the brown sugar. These are beautiful. Oh, now we're talking. Oh, now we're smoking.
Easy grilled cauliflower with my pop sauce. First, we're gonna start with the cauliflower. I've got the entire head, trimmed the little green leaves off, flatten the bottom so it kind of sits just like that. And I like to keep it together because it makes it easy to season. You know, every once in a while when I find cauliflower in the bag where there's florets and it's on sale, yeah, I'll get it. But then when I put it in the bowl to olive oil it and everything, I feel like the olive oil just ends up on the bowl and not on the actual cauliflower. So this way, if you keep the head completely together, you can kind of say, yeah, I know I got the olive oil on the florets, not on the stems or hanging out on the bowl. All right, so 360 degrees of love. And I'm gonna come in and season it with some salt and kind of throw it at the side there, kind of like, hey. And then hit it with some black pepper. And usually I say boulders, but it's okay to get that pepper snow for this so it kind of adheres and sticks and stays on. And then for a little bit of smoky heat, because we are talking about spice today, some hot Hungarian paprika. Just kind of sprinkle it high. The lower you go, the more direct it will be. And then also to taste. So I've got my grill set at 400 degrees. I'm gonna get this right over the indirect heat. So that means if your grill is lit on the left side, you're gonna put it on the right side and vice versa.
Sonny, you're doing that cauliflower with that pop-pop sauce. People are using this pop-pop sauce on everything, right?
Yes, you know, obviously it's shrimp is probably the first place people had it. All right, so I'm gonna show you how to make this pop-pop sauce. Very simple, it's mayo-based. To that, I'm gonna add in some of my Thai sweet chili sauce. Now, this should always be in your refrigerator or in your pantry. I find I love it because when I order out Chinese takeout, those packets aren't enough, and I love to dip my egg rolls in this. So right into my bowl, that sweet Thai chili sauce. I'm gonna add into that some sriracha, coming through with some heat. And then just a little sweet from honey. And try to do some local honey if you can, it's good for you. And then just whisk away. You know, if you're wondering where did all of this pop-pop, as I call it, or bam-bam, as Jeff calls it, sauce came from, people were going to like a fast casual restaurant that served with shrimp, became so huge. Obviously, you come home and you want to make it at home. Now you can definitely, like I said, buy it in the jar, or you can make it very simply here, just 4 ingredients: the mayo, the Thai chili sauce, sriracha, and a little bit of honey. All right, so that is done. Let's check on this cauliflower that I already had kind of hanging out. All right, this is what it's gonna look like. After about 30 to 40 minutes, you'll know when you stick a fork in the top and it's fork tender as we speak of. Bring this out here. Look at that. Now, I could eat this entire head of cauliflower. So this recipe for the sauce is actually for 2. You can serve some sauce on the side if you like. And I like to get in here, turn it over, and kind of attack it from the center, right? So if you look at it, you can just say to yourself, well, look at the florets. If I hold my finger here and I just slice down and around, everything's gonna come apart. There you go. All right, so into the bowl. Yeah, can you imagine me eating an entire head of cauliflower? Sometimes I catch myself mid-meal and I say, I'm healthier than I sell. All right, over the top. Just a little bit. Doesn't take much. And then just kind of give it a nice little bowl toss. Get it into our serving bowl here. A very easy side. I like to finish it with some chopped scallions. I feel like you can never have enough, never too many chopped scallions. And then, just for edification, a nice little bright spritz after it sat in that grill. Now, you can do this in your oven as well at 400 degrees, but a nice spritz of that lemon juice. There you have it, my cauliflower with pop-pop sauce.
I'm gonna start with my barbecue sauce. I'm gonna start with a Spanish onion and some crushed garlic. And I'm actually gonna blend this all up anyway, so I don't even have to dice it that finely. A little bit of canola oil. And get my onions and garlic in there. If they get a little color, that's okay too. That's the great thing about barbecue sauce. It's pretty rustic, you know. I'm looking for heat, I'm looking for a little smokiness, and I'm looking for a little sweet, you know, good balance.
I feel like barbecue sauce usually takes a long time to make. Do they always take a long time, or is it something you can do kind of quickly?
The thing that takes the longest is actually gathering the ingredients, you know? Like, I have, like, red wine vinegar, I have the Dijon mustard, the chilies. Now that I have it all here, I can start adding all my ingredients, mix it all together, bring it to a boil, cut it down to a simmer, and I let it cook for about 30 to 40 minutes, and that's it, really. Just want to let all the spices blend together, and you want these dried spices to kind of cook out, to mellow, and that takes a little bit of time. But other than that, it's not a big deal.
All right.
Yeah. Onions and garlic, I'm gonna let that sweat for a minute. All right, I'm gonna start on my barbecue sauce now. Onions and garlic, got a little toasted there. I'm gonna start with ketchup as the base. I'm gonna add a little red wine vinegar for some acidity, some Worcestershire sauce. Got some of that tart tamarind flavor from the Worcestershire sauce. Some Dijon mustard, some spiciness. And then I have some chipotles, smoked jalapenos, with some smoky, fiery flavor. So I'm gonna add some sweetness here, some brown sugar, some honey, some ancho chili powder. And the great thing about the ancho chilies is not only do they add flavor, but they also act as a thickening agent.
Really?
Yeah, especially dried chilies. They have the characteristic that actually thickens things up. I'm gonna add a little molasses.
Yeah.
It's gonna make it thick and rich. And then a little bit of water just to thin it out a little bit.
Okay. Bobby, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
I cook a lot of times for my family, and they're very picky eaters.
Right.
They don't like a lot of spice. I happen to like a lot of flavor, a lot of spice. Is there some way to kind of find a happy medium for them?
There definitely is. I mean, a poblano chili is a good chili to start somebody off with. It has a nice pepper flavor, but it's not that spicy. But then you can use other ingredients to create impact. Instead of just heat, obviously you like to use bacon, you get a good smoky flavor there. You know, garlic is also a wonderful ingredient. You can use garlic raw or roasted. And so there's definitely different ways to get bigger flavors in without actually, you know, hurting people with spice.
Okay.
Here's the base of my barbecue sauce. Remember, we started with onions and garlic, and we added, you know, ketchup as the base, some Dijon mustard, brown sugar, molasses, honey, smoked jalapenos, and a couple other things as well. And then I took some balsamic vinegar, and I reduced the balsamic vinegar down almost to a glaze, almost like to a balsamic syrup, you know, so it has a nice thick consistency. Wow. And when you do that, there's a good amount of sugar in there, so it's actually gonna have sort of a nice sweet and acid balance to it. And I'm gonna add this to my barbecue sauce. I wanna make sure you get all this out. This is pretty intense stuff.
That looks amazing.
Well, the great thing about reducing balsamic vinegar like that is, you know, that can act as a sauce for other things.
It's not too strong, because I mean, balsamic vinegar in and of itself is a very strong flavor.
It's
Does it get too strong at that point?
I don't think so, no, because it just a little bit really goes a long way. And you want to pair it with things that will hold up to it, like goat cheese or something along those lines where it's a little bit creamy, you know?
Sure.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my immersion blender, and I'm just going to blend up the sauce now that I have all the ingredients in there, because I want to get all those onions and garlic blended in there.
Very dark sauce.
Yeah.
That's the molasses and the balsamic, pretty much?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the molasses and the balsamic making it deep and rich.
So the hardest part about cooking on these shows is not drooling, huh?
Exactly. Okay. I have my balsamic barbecue sauce done. I'm gonna let that sit. All right, I'm gonna just take my flank steak now, and it's one of the lesser expensive cuts of meat, and I think it has fantastic flavor. There are some keys as to making sure that it's really tender, such as if you overcook flank steak, it really tends to dry out and gets a little chewy. But also, you want to cut the flank steak against the grain very thinly, and then you'll have a delicious steak. It just has so much flavor to it. Now, I'm gonna just season it with some salt and pepper. Okay, good amount on both sides.
It's a lot of salt and pepper, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it has to penetrate, you know, the density of this meat, which is, you know, it's pretty dense. And it also, when I grill it, it's gonna help me form a crust on the outside of it. All right, so I'm gonna get my flank steak on. Nice hot grill. I'm gonna cook my steak around medium rare, but I don't wanna flip this. I'm gonna turn this one single time. You know, Seth was asking me about the salt and pepper. I'm gonna let the salt and pepper create a crust on the outside, but if I keep flipping it and flipping it and flipping it, I'm not gonna get a crust. It's gonna look more like I boiled it. You know what I mean? Direct heat is your friend, especially if you're trying to get something nice and crusty on the outside.
All right.
Now I'm gonna make some open-faced sandwiches with flank steak with a balsamic barbecue sauce. And I got some grilled toast. I'm gonna make my sandwiches sort of open-faced. Let's give it a try.
Wow. It's wonderful. It just falls apart in your mouth. It's amazing. Wow.
I am making Italian meatballs.
Oh, I'm gonna get one of those.
In vodka sauce.
Oh, yeah.
This is, I'm sorry, Sonny, yours is easy. I think mine is easier because there's no chopping
me.
involved.
Excuse
You have to
me.
chop your herbs. Jeffrey's looking at this. It's not eggs. These are fresh meatballs available in your, you know, refrigerated section now at your grocery store.
Oh, yeah, I've seen
fresh,
that, yeah.
pre-made meatballs ready to go. So what we're gonna do is sear these off in a pan, okay? We're gonna bring it to low, and we're gonna make now our sauce. It's a vodka sauce. This could not be any easier. Taking your favorite jar of pre-made tomato sauce. I know, people in my family are rolling in their graves right now, but they make some really good jar sauce right now.
They do,
Real
yeah.
fresh, really just vibrant and beautiful.
It's not like it used to be.
Next, we're gonna take some cream.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy whipping cream in there to make it a creamy sauce. We're gonna whisk this around, right? And I'm gonna take these meatballs, right? See how easy this is? Because it's just 2 ingredients thus far.
Where's the vodka?
The vodka is coming. I'm gonna take these meatballs, right? And I'm just gonna literally dump them all. Look at that. Look how crispy we got on there, right? Again, you can use the frozen meatballs, but I think this adds so much flavor, just caramelizing the exterior.
Wow.
Frying them up.
Hating.
Just a little bit of that fat. Oh, what are we gonna do with all that crispy bit fond on the bottom
You're
there?
gonna flambe.
We're gonna deglaze
Oh.
with that, right?
See, that's not easy. You doing a whole lot of steaming up. Now I gotta turn on the vent over the stove.
And the vodka not only gives it flavor and body and everything, that kind of like potato-y type of flavor, but also helps emulsify the tomato and the fat and the cream together as one. Wow. Otherwise, you get separation, right? It'll cook in there. We're gonna...
How long, Jeff?
So this is going on high, 2 to 4 hours till it's all kind of together and wonderful. And look at that, give it a little stir before you put...
It smells amazing.
It is like, right, that vodka sauce.
Yeah.
And how easy was that? 3 ingredients only. I got one ready to go here. Let me see, this one is gonna be legendary.
Oh. Do I taste this one too, or Katie gets it?
No, Katie gets to taste that, but look at that.
Step back.
Come on.
Look at it. It's like a very pretty blush, right? Look at that. Give it a little stir before you serve it, right? There we go.
Yeah, because I want a lot of sauce in there.
There's
Yeah,
a
well,
restaurant downtown that has a great
Oh, that looks
vodka
good,
sauce. I know
Jeff.
what I mean.
Okay.
Look at
Big old
that.
piece of basil on it.
Look at
Yup.
it. And I'm gonna get dainty. Daddy's getting dainty here. We're just throwing a little piece of baby basil on top of each one of these. Then, of course, a
Farm me
little,
up.
little fresh parm. And don't forget your toothpicks.
So much work.
How dare you? These were so easy. You're gonna make these so much more
Really good.
quicker and frequently than Sonny's.
Listen, I think we've all had the meatballs at some place, right? Just as good if you're gonna do like a meatball bar, man. Just a couple of flavors, something familiar.
Jeff, I love the creaminess and that tomato sauce and the vodka. It's there, but it's not overpowering. And you're right, having that little brown bit.
Yeah.
It's good.
The fond.
I like
Used
these.
it.
I would make this for dinner. Put it in before you go to work.
So let's roast a filet. So I know this looks a little daunting, but it's not, trust me. So I asked the butcher to trim and tie it. So trimming is taking off all the fat, and then that little layer of silver that's sometimes on it, taking that off too. And then tying it so it's nice and round, and sometimes there's like this little end, help tie it under. And the point of tying it, like these little strings, is to make sure that it's very even. So the beginning, the middle, and the end all cook at exactly the same time. So it's gonna be perfect. So that's the filet, and I'm gonna just dry the outside. And the point of this is so the butter that I'm gonna put on the outside sticks to it. That's the drying. So 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter. You want it to be really soft. And then I just do it with my hands, just slather it on the outside. And the point of this is to keep the meat really moist. Also, then the salt and pepper that I'm gonna add is gonna stick to it. I actually did this with Jay Leno once a long time ago on TV. I had him rubbing butter on a filet of beef. If he can't make a joke out of that, he doesn't deserve to be a comic. It was really fun. Okay, so I'm gonna just rub this all on the outside. Get butter all evenly all over it. Good and messy. Tablespoon of salt. I know it's a lot, but you really want, you've got a whole filet of beef to season. You wanna make sure it's really well seasoned. And a tablespoon of pepper. Slippery hands. This is such a great dish for a holiday. It's not really Tuesday night dinner, but it's for a holiday or for a special event. It's so easy to do, and people are so impressed that you can make a whole filet of beef. Okay, I'm just gonna wash my hands. Into the oven, 500 degrees. It's really hot. Make sure your oven's very clean, otherwise it'll smoke. For 22 minutes for rare, but I like it medium rare, so I'm gonna do it for 25 minutes. And it comes out perfectly every time. Next, mustard horseradish sauce. Oof, say that 10 times fast. Okay, so first I need 1.5 cups of mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is a great base for sauce. The key is that it doesn't taste like mayonnaise. When I have the store, I would make all these like chicken salad with mayonnaise, but I'd add white wine or mustard or something to take away that kind of distinctive mayonnaise flavor. 3 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. And then, because I want it to look like mustard and taste like mustard, 1½ tablespoons of coarse grain mustard. And then you see the grains of mustard and that kind of little bite of mustard, which is great. Tablespoon of horseradish, not too much because it's really sharp. And 1/3 cup of sour cream. So the mayonnaise and sour cream together kind of like mask the fact that you started with mayonnaise. That should be about 1/3 cup. And salt. And just whisk it all together. So you've got a really great high-low thing, really fancy filet of beef, and a sauce that you made from ingredients in your pantry. You almost didn't even have to shop for them. I'm just gonna put this in a bowl. Maybe a simple sauce, but you put it in a fancy bowl, it looks fancy. I actually collect these hotel silver bowls. They're really great. It's kind of not your mother's fancy silver. It's like silver that hotels used to use, so it has that patina. I love it. And that's the sauce. Okay, the beef's almost done. I'm gonna take it out to rest, and then we're gonna go to the garden. So I'll take the filet out. Boy, does that look good. I'll cover it in foil and let it rest. I'm gonna show you how to carve a filet of beef, and trust me, it's so much easier than like a standing rib roast. Okay, so I think it should be perfect. It's been resting. Now, how gorgeous is that? So I'm gonna put it on the board. And the first thing I need to do, it's still really hot. It's amazing how hot it stays under that foil. First thing I need to do is get rid of all the strings. Nobody wants to eat string. So I'm just gonna take each string off. First time I ever had a whole filet of beef was at a friend's house in Washington in the 70s. Geoffrey and I were invited to somebody's house for dinner. It was a guy, a single guy was making dinner. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be really bad. And it was the days when I was making like Julia Child's recipes, really fancy French things. I was teaching myself how to cook. And I said to Geoffrey, we should probably eat something before we go to this guy's house because I thought it was gonna be terrible. And when we got there, he had roasted an entire filet of beef, which I thought was so elegant, I couldn't believe it. He'd baked his own bread. And he'd made something like chocolate mousse for dessert. It was just stunning, absolutely stunning. And after that, I actually decided that my cooking should be simpler, that it shouldn't be so sort of French and fancy. It should be really elegant and really simple. I wonder if he knows how much of an influence he had on me, all the way from the 70s. And one thing about having a filet of beef in your repertoire is you can always make it with lots of different sauces, and you've got something totally different. So this is with mustard and horseradish sauce, but I make it with a blue cheese sauce by just boiling heavy cream and adding blue cheese to it, which is so good. I sometimes do it with a basil parmesan mayonnaise. So it's like a summer dish or a winter dish. One filet of beef, lots of different ways. Okay. So this is done. Just takes a second, but it's really important to take the string off. And then I'll show you how you slice it. And this is the moment. I always think, I hope it's perfect. And the good news is, it always is. So I like sort of thicker slices, and each person gets 2 slices. So, wow. Now tell me that isn't perfectly cooked filet of beef. So when I put it on the platter, I actually slice most of it, but not the whole thing. I think it looks nicer to have a big piece at the end. You can always slice more. One filet of beef will serve like 10 people. That's why it's great for parties or for holidays. And if there are leftovers, you can make little sandwiches the next day. Very elegant sandwiches. I'm just using a small, sharp slicing knife to really just make sure it's sharp and get nice slices. Okay, so onto a platter. I've got a big, long, narrow platter, which is perfect. I'm gonna put the big piece on the back, just like that, and then try as much as I can to put this right next to it. Yay, I did it. And then some parsley, just to make it look better. Always looks better with something green on the plate. Just right down here. And mustard horseradish sauce, it's great together. And happily, there's always a little bit of filet beef left over for whoever carved it, me. It's so tender and so flavorful.
Now we're back to filet mignon. A lot less fat. You can spend the money on a really good slice, really good piece, and you want to sear it in a nice, like non-stick cast iron pan. And it's great because you get that good fond development without having to put too much fat in there. But now you put the fat in with this butter. All right. What this is going to do is give it a luxuriousness we love in steaks. Also help brown it. And now we can put our fresh thyme or rosemary, whatever you may have on hand.
Oh my gosh.
Lower it down a little bit, a couple crushed cloves of garlic.
My fave.
And now you take your towel, right?
Take your
you
towel.
get ready, and you start dipping it towards you, and now you just start basting.
I am making a classic French Béarnaise sauce. Okay, so
Amen.
we have
Why stop?
4 egg yolks in a bowl, no whites. We're gonna add a touch of lemon juice and some salt. And we're gonna put that over a bowl of simmering water. Now it's simmering at this point, and the reason why we're doing this is that we have to get an emulsion number 1 going. Emulsion number 1 is making sure that the eggs come to a sort of a streaky, thick, semi-cooked state so we can add the butter. This butter here, right here, is clarified butter, which means we've taken about 2 ounces per yolk and cooked it until it's gotten the skim of the solids, the milk solids come off of it, and it purifies it and it clarifies it just like that. So, we're gonna keep this going all the time. Now, right here, what I have done is I've taken some shallots, vinegar, tarragon, and some peppercorns and put it into a little sachet bag. I've reduced it. It takes about 15 minutes until it is dry. Just the shallots are left. They are pink because of the color of the shallot. That is what's gonna make this basic hollandaise into a Béarnaise. All right, we got it. So as you can see, I'm cooking this and I'm regulating the heat so it's not boiling. The water is never touching the bowl. I am never stopping here, and this is why this is a little of a tricky sauce and people get kind of freaked out about it. Now, how you know this is ready? Emulsion number 1 is done. You can see that. You can put your finger through it.
This guy.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay, Sonny, go. Very lightly, you can very drizzle that right in here. And I'm gonna make my emulsion. Go ahead. Oh, baby.
This is when the magic happens.
Oh, this is the magic happens. Okay, you can go on some more. Now the first one comes in, now you've set your emulsion. Now you can pour it a little bit faster. I'm gonna regulate the heat here so it doesn't get too hot. Emulsion number 1 is done. Emulsion number 2 is done. Now the flavoring, which makes a basic hollandaise, which this is, into the Béarnaise. So we're gonna take a little of that shallot vinegar and a little bit of the fresh tarragon. Voila, Béarnaise.
There it is.
There you are, right there.
Okay, this is a very simple, classic red wine peppercorn sauce. Very easy for you to do. Just get a bottle of red wine. I've got some black peppercorn here. This is a molcajete. I just like to do a fresh grind. I'm just gonna get my pepper right into this preheated pot. Red wine, I mean, any kind of wine that you like the flavor of. We've already discussed this many times. You're gonna get that in there. This is going to go ahead and reduce. I'm gonna put some shallots in here as well. So it's shallots, it's thyme, rosemary, your red wine, a little bit of black pepper that you freshly grind so you get those oils activated. This is gonna take about 40 to 45 minutes to reduce down to something nice and flavorful.
Look at that.
It's gonna reduce by half. Yeah, super classic preparation. And then you're just gonna pour it over, pour it back into your warm dish.
Does that touch have to do with
Just
butter?
a little touch of butter.
Oh,
Yeah.
why stop now?
Whisk that into your warm red wine sauce.
3,
go.
2, 1.
See, you missed it.
So I've got a lot of garlic I'm gonna use all over the place. I'm getting a pan ready with some olive oil, a little crushed red pepper, and then I'm swinging back into my clam mode. So I'm gonna go ahead, give them a scrub, and let them hang out in a colander so all of the water and stuff can drain out. So I have my garlic. It has done beautiful things. This garlic has fulfilled its garlic destiny. That goes in the thank you for coming also. Now, out of my 5 dozen clams, I'm gonna go ahead and cook about 3.5 of them now, so I can use all of their beautiful clam juice, and I'm gonna pick them out of their shells to toss into my pasta later. And then I have about 1.5 dozen to top my pasta dish with. Let's go ahead and get these steamy and open. Okay, we're gonna steam them with a big drink of wine. You know, my clams are gonna be happy drunk clams. Need a little liquid in there to get the steam going. So we gave them a little drink of wine. Let's give them a little drink of water also. There we go. I'm gonna cover this up and we'll steam them, and then we're gonna save all of that juice and stuff as the liquid in my clam sauce. I've got fresh parsley and fresh oregano that I'm going to pick and chop up for my clam sauce later on. I'm gonna pull these guys out of the shells as soon as they cool down. And I've got this beautiful pot of clam juice, and it's a little winey with a little garlic and crushed red in there. I'm gonna reduce that down just a little bit to really concentrate those flavors. And I'm gonna come back and pick the clam out of the shells in a little bit to toss into my pasta sauce. All right, so pasta dropped, and let's go ahead and cook the rest of our clams. We're gonna steam these guys open. Nice. Love that sound. Now I have my clam juice from my other clams. It's the liquid in my whole shooting match here. Wow. Nice, clammy flavor. Good things. I'll put a lid on that and steam these open. Got a whole lot of clam juice in here with a lot of garlic and crushed red pepper. Look at these little sexy babies. Okay, we're gonna add a little butter to finish this up and kind of thicken it up, give it a velvety texture. I love a velvety texture in my clam sauce. All right, let that melt. Pasta, herbs, and some cheese to finish that up. Now we're gonna toss this around. And we have that pasta absorb in that deliciousness of the sauce, so we really get everything, together there. Good stuff. A little cheese. You know what? Sometimes people have an issue with seafood and cheese. If you do, skip the cheese. I love it. It adds a perfect salty tang to me. You know, I'm really right in there with that. Okay. Look at that. Those herbs, because I added them just at the last second with all of that big fat finishing oil, is really perfect. All right, I'm getting in here.
Now, let me tell you about chicken and brining. Got some water here. Gonna add a little bit of sugar. Usually 1 part sugar, 2 parts salt. We're gonna put the juice of 1 lemon. Don't worry about the seeds or anything. Just quarter this baby. All right, I'm gonna add this to the brine. Squeeze and drop, squeeze and drop. It's gonna add a nice lemony flavor to your chicken along with the salt and the sugar. So that's in there. We're ready to go. I've got 4 chicken breasts with skin on because, I mean, there's no bone in, so we wanna keep a little bit of the moisture. What we wanna do is put that in the brine for about an hour, half an hour. Look, the more salt and the more sugar you put in the brine, the less time you have to soak it. I'm gonna get the chicken out that's been brining and get ready for the grill. It's been in there for about an hour. Those are patted dry. Now I'm going to start just building them up. A little butter, salt, pepper, the liquid smoke that's gonna make it taste like you did it outside on the grill for hours. Oh, man. So I'm gonna put this in here. Now remember, the good thing about drying off the chicken is the butter's not gonna slide off when you try and kinda put it in there. Make a little pocket. Don't take the skin completely off, all right? And then what I do is put a little leaf of sage right in there. Finished up that last one there on the grill with the rest of them. Just gonna sear it. We're not gonna completely cook it through because that's gonna happen in the oven with the potatoes. If we do everything right, it's gonna finish all at the same time. It's gonna be so, so good. All right, so next, we're gonna work on getting our sauce ready for our white wine mushroom sauce. It's gonna be so unbelievable. All right, so I've got a pan right here on low. I'm gonna throw some butter in. All right, some olive oil. Thing about the butter and the olive oil, they help each other out. The butter's not gonna brown with the olive oil, and the olive oil's not gonna burn with the butter. So they're like great friends in this pan. All right, so add the onions, and I'm gonna get some mushrooms, slice them up, put them in there with the onions and wait for them to tender up. Let me check this chicken really quick. It might be ready for the oven. A few more minutes on this. Just added some cayenne pepper for a little bit of smoky flavor and heat to the onions and the mushrooms that are getting nice and translucent with the butter and the oil. Let me check my chicken here that's grilling. We don't want to completely cook it through. It looks good. So I'm going to put it in the oven with our potatoes, and it's going to finish up cooking in there. Oh, it looks good. Nice and golden with the grill marks. Got to really invest in one of these pans if you don't have one. Get one with the handles, no big deal. All right, so I'm gonna put this in with the potatoes. It's
gonna be in there. Oh, the potatoes smell so good. The garlic. It's gonna be in there about 20 minutes, all right? We're gonna finish off this white wine mushroom sauce with, of course, some white wine, some chicken stock, because the chicken is going on it, or under it. And of course, this is the lettuce for our salad. Oh, don't drop it. All right, good save. We're gonna put some wine in there. Just a little bit. We're gonna reduce it down so we get all the nice fruity flavors of the wine. Really work those bits from the bottom of the pan. It's gonna add a lot of nice flavor and texture to your gravy when you're done. All right, so wine down. We're gonna put some chicken stock in a minute, but we're gonna have to thicken it up at the end, and I wanna show you how to do that. What I like to do is 1 part butter and 1 part flour. It works so easily, so if you ever have lumpy gravy problems, give this a try. I'm feeling like I might wanna put some chicken stock in here. Yeah, the wine is reduced down. It's ready for the chicken stock. A lot of times people want to add some water into the gravy, but I say chicken stock. Adds a lot of body and depth and flavor. Oh, it smells so good. Now remember, that butter and flour, 1 tablespoon of each, so this is gonna thicken up with no lumps.
I'm from Northern California, and if there's one thing that we've mastered besides great wine, well, it's Dungeness crab. Now, I love Dungeness crab, had it hundreds of different ways, but one of my favorite ways is Asian style. Now, I've also been to San Francisco Chinatown tons of times, and that's kind of what inspired me for today's meal, and I'm calling it Dungeness and Dragons. I'm gonna take some Dungeness crab and hot saute it with a little black bean garlic paste, a little hot sauce, some white wine, a little hoisin. Fantastic. I wanna crank it up. Heating up nice, and I'm gonna hit it with a little canola oil right now. This is gonna be a cross between saute and fry. Okay, but if it's hot enough, the crab won't, or the meat, or whatever you're cooking, won't absorb a bunch of it. So let's look at this. Now here's the big surprise. When you get it from your fishmonger, you might find it with the cap on there, but it's all cleaned and done for you. If you're finding them live in a tank, ask your fishmonger, would you mind cleaning them and cooking them for me? And they'll most likely help you out. Kind of like how when you go and get a fresh lobster. So look at this. This has been cleaned. Nice big claw meat. Really sweet, tender meat inside of this. I'm gonna crack it once here. And I'm gonna give it once right through here. The body meat in this, I think, is probably the tastiest, but you know, everybody has their favorite part. Just gonna hit it with a little crack in each one of the claws. Not too much, because I don't want it to break apart. And what this is gonna do is this is gonna let a little bit of the flavor of the sauce that we're gonna make after we quick fry it in this. This is gonna make the sauce give a chance to kind of soak inside of there. Look how hot that bad boy is. Ready? Here we go. Now, take it easy with this. Slow it down. But after a while, you'll toss it like that. And if you don't want to toss it like that, grab yourself a spoon and just hit it over. Okay? So this is gonna hit like this for a couple minutes until it warms up. I'm gonna take that off the heat for just a second and go shopping. I need some black bean garlic paste, a little hot sauce, some more sesame oil, some cilantro, believe it or not, and a little Sonoma County's finest, some white wine. Okay, there we go. Okay, now, let's take this crab out of the wok. Now, this crab was already cooked when I got it. And, you know, if you find the crab live, you can actually ask your fishmonger if they'll help you out and if they'll clean it for you. What I did there is just really intensely heated it up with a little bit of oil. What I'm gonna do now is make a sauce that I'm gonna toss it into. So a little black bean garlic paste is gonna go in, and you can find this in the, you know, if you have an Asian store around, or you can also find it by going into the ethnic aisle of your supermarket. Okay, so like 3 tablespoons of that. It's gonna go hot and fast. And then I've got some, let's see here. I'm gonna pull that off the heat a little bit because I don't want it to cook too fast. I'm gonna deglaze it. A little bit of hoisin sauce. There we go. And that's kind of like a Chinese barbecue sauce, pretty all-purpose. It's not, you know, really extreme in one flavor of another. Really great to work with. I love it on fish. Put in a little bit of hot sauce. You might have your favorite. So these are all gonna go together for a second. Turn that heat way back up, and I'm gonna let this reduce a bit. And it's picking up a lot of that flavor of the crab that's already all the way around this wok. And to help it grab a little bit more of that flavor, A little white wine. And put that around the sides. There we go. About a 1/4 cup of that. Okay. So we're gonna let this sit here and just kind of work together for a second. Let the flavors come, let it caramelize down a bit, reduce down. Look at that. And it also deglazed the pan and picked up the flavor. Okay, so that goes down, that hangs out. So look at that, it's just caramelized up. It looks like a hot syrup. Now we go back in with the crab, crank that heat back up. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Now, I've got some cracks already in the crab, and you see that in the center of the crab, it's open, but what's gonna happen is that sauce starts to make it in there. Starts to make it right in with the meat of the crab. Okay, there we go. Now, I got this hot oil, and here's what we're gonna do. And watch out on this one. You might have seen it in a movie before. I'm gonna drop some cellophane noodles into the oil, and check out what happens. Isn't that cool? This is gonna make a real nice bed for that hot crab that's done in that spicy sauce, okay? All right, these gotta chill down for a second. Let's see, I've got some noodles here that I fried up, and I'll just kind of put these around. I like edible garnish myself. When we get some of the sauce on these rice noodles that I fried, it's just gonna be outstanding. Get to eat that in the crab. But look at this crab. Dungeness crab, kind of the pride of the Pacific out in California. We love this, and we'll do it crab boil, crab cioppino, any way we can get it. And this right here, the Asian crab, is big in the Chinatown and San Fran. Ah, this is dynamite. Look at how good that looks. I'm gonna take a little bit of this sauce and deglaze it with a little white wine, just because I don't want to leave anything in the pan on this one. Oh boy, you should smell the flavors. So what I've got in here is some hot sauce, some white wine. We've also got a little hoisin and then a little black bean garlic paste. You can pretty much find any of those sauces in the aisle, you know, the Asian aisle at your grocery store. But look at that. Okay, we'll hit this right over the top. Nice and hot. Oh, fantastic. Okay, a little garnish here with some green onions. There we go. And a little toasted sesame seed. Put it all together. All right. Okay. I gotta grab a nice big piece of crab, some of the salad, and because I did all this work of hitting that hot saute pan, I've got to try the crab first. You got to get the flavor. The fresh crab, the spiciness, the black bean, the garlic, all coming through. That is outstanding.
My mother's marinara sauce. So 2 yellow onions, and just get them cooking in that olive oil. Now this is where we need the pure horsepower of garlic. So 10 cloves. So I just slice them into rounds and drop it in there. I like a little heat from 2 teaspoons of chili flakes. That's the same thing as pepper. And then I put 2 teaspoons of sugar. And for a little bit of nature's sweetener, I'm gonna add some fresh carrot. Now I'm really ready to add my tomatoes and turn this into a tomato sauce. So just pour 2 cans of whole peeled tomatoes into here. We'll just let this tomato sauce continue to simmer on the stove over like a medium heat. Up next, I'm gonna drop these perfectly browned meatballs into my marinara sauce. Now for the taste. Wow.
Aarti, we are shedding a light on the winter vegetable this episode, okay? So you're gonna brighten things up with a dish from your new cookbook, which I love, Unwind.
Yes, so...
So what are you cooking with?
So I am doing cauliflower. I'm doing a whole roasted cauliflower with Makhani sauce. Makhani means buttery, basically. The sauce is gonna feel kind of familiar because it's basically like a buttered chicken, chicken tikka masala. So you could make this sauce and hold it, right? And then if you're doing mushrooms, if you're doing chicken, whatever, you can mix it all together and boom, dinner. So
let's start it up. Yeah, let's get mucking.
You are gonna show me your knife skills and chop up some cilantro and dill. This how it is, guys?
Yes, crazy.
Every week? It's
I love cauliflower. A lot of people don't know it's in like the kale and cabbage family, and along with broccoli as well. So.
And we should always be trying to eat one of those members every day. Somebody had told me. So I've got ghee in a skillet here, which is
get that
clarified
ghee in a
butter. I
skillet.
love it. You can use regular butter if you like. So ginger, garlic, and I'm just trying to get just some of the rawness out of there, and then a couple of bay leaves. Okay, now, once that rawness is out, we're gonna add a little water, and then I'm gonna use passata. I'm obsessed with passata.
What's
Anybody
passata?
feel?
I love it. Chicken passata. Nice flat, and you pound it out.
When you say it with that accent, it sounds legit.
Tomatoes.
Okay.
So what is passata now?
It's pureed tomatoes, basically. No seeds, no skins, but not cooked.
Ooh-wee.
So you get that nice fresh flavor. And then I'm gonna add some spices to it. I've got salt,
It already smells so good.
paprika, and then I'm using Kashmir chili powder.
What's the
Kashmir
difference?
chilies. So they have a ton of
bright.
color. It's beautiful red.
Cashmere.
Kashmir, yeah. And then the tiniest bit of heat. If you don't have it, just use a little cayenne. Now, I'm gonna bring that to a boil, turn it down to a simmer, cook it for 20 minutes. And then this is going really well here. Now, we're gonna add final little, with Indian cooking, South Asian cooking, it's layers of flavor. So we're gonna add.
I learned that watching Aarti party.
Oh, remember when
What
we
was
did
that
an
you
episode
added?
of your show together too?
I do.
What's the last one you added?
This is ground cumin,
Okay, good.
garam masala, so
Garam
like
masala.
pumpkin pie spice, cinnamon.
So why do you
cardamom.
add those after the 20-minute cooking and not at the beginning?
Because I want those flavors to be more higher,
Okay.
like more top note. I don't want them to cook down so much. This is dried fenugreek leaves, sort of tastes like maple syrup. So you could use maple syrup, actually. I've had friends do that. I'm using a little bit of sugar and honey. So instead of the honey, you could do the maple syrup, actually. In fact,
So tell us about Unwind. I know it is, first of all, I gotta say, it's a beautiful cookbook, and it's so much
you.
more
Oh,
than a
look at
standard
that.
cookbook. It's so inspirational, so many great
you.
stories and words of wisdom. Was that your goal with that?
yeah,
or?
it was. Well, because I was sort of feeling, even as someone that's like a food professional, that I was getting to that dinner hour after doing a billion things for everybody else and then having to make dinner. And it kind of felt like salt in the wound. Honestly, I was like, really? Now you want me to make dinner? I was getting really resentful about it. I'm just going to keep going here while I'm telling you
please.
about it. So this is the same sauce added with cream and a little butter. And now I'm going to spoon
What's a little
it.
butter, Aarti?
About this much. as big as my heart.
No.
There you go.
So basically what I was finding is I was getting so resentful, and then that was transferring to the table, and those are the people I care about the most.
Yeah.
At the
Oh,
table.
resentment is awful.
It's awful. And so I cast my mind back to my aunt, and she said that she prayed before she cooked. And I was like, you do? And she looked at me like, you don't? And I was like, I mean, we all do it, right?
Yeah.
And so she encouraged me to do that. And so
Love
that really
that.
changed my heart in the kitchen. And so that's the whole point of this book. It's a devotional. So every devotional starts with when you need hope, joy, courage, peace,
Love that.
all those
That is
things.
so
for
beautiful.
you to do
And then
Good.
the recipe that's attached to it.
That's a
Yellow.
white cauliflower,
It's a
right?
white
That's white?
cauliflower.
Because you
Would
see
you
they
do
come in
turmeric
different
it?
colors here
That's right.
now.
And you could use them, but they tend to lose their color once
Yeah,
they
it does.
How'd you
once
get
they're
it yellow?
cooked.
Is that turmeric vibes?
Turmeric and paprika.
Okay.
Salt, roasted in the oven for 375 for 40 minutes covered. Take the foil off, roast it for another 40. You get it nice and tender. Now all we're trying to do is put this under the broiler. Will you accompany me?
Yes, you want me to? I'll,
Chaperone me?
Oh, no.
Under,
Jeff, please.
under the oh, jeez and crow. Ask Geoffrey to do it. 'Cause I know he worked out this morning.
I did.
No, he didn't. I did, though.
All right, here we go.
Oh,
up with the
bro.
jello.
Oh, look
This
at
is it,
that.
finished.
Come on now.
God,
Come
I love
on,
it.
Aarti.
And it's such a humble vegetable. It deserves a moment in the sun. So we're gonna do some cilantro leaves on top.
By the way, cauliflower's gone nuts. Like the last 5 years, it's not
yeah.
a restaurant. It's like
And you can do everything with
a
cauliflower.
moment in the sun. It's had like, it's like it's been on the equator.
Turn before you burn.
Ready.
Yeah.
Okay, I used Jeff's dill. Just so
Okay,
we're clear.
Jeff.
Yeah, mine didn't make the final cut, obviously.
That knife just
I'm
sliced
gonna-
right in.
right
girlfriend.
through.
So,
Yeah.
Aarti, would you serve this like with rice?
Yeah, you
or-
could totally do rice. You could do naan.
Oh, that'd be good.
Nan,
Speaking
nan, nan.
I mean, I haven't been this enticed from a vegetable, let alone a cauliflower, in a
It
very
does
long
make
Oh, I
it
time.
can't
seem
wait to
very
try this.
useful, right? I mean,
I'm
I'm
the
definitely
last.
making
Here we go.
this.
That's why I'm gonna do this. Nobody knows.
I forgot to say that.
There you go.
Because you always say it. I forgot to say it.
Oh.
Definitely making
I can identify the ones
I
you're
know.
definitely
You know
making.
what I'm gonna
I know
make.
what you're gonna
You
make.
know- We all know what each other likes to
Yes,
eat.
I
yeah,
know.
isn't
So
that
we
that's so
know.
cute? You guys are such a family over here.
Just wait till you taste that sauce.
Do you like it? Oh, I'm so glad. It's so comforting.
So good.
It's a great way to really highlight a vegetable that I think is now getting its due, finally.
Those spices, so, you know, it's something that we got to go out and get those spices for our spice rack to be able to take things that we already have, like tomatoes, and transform them into this.
Yeah, but it's not only it's the freshness of the spice, the layering, what she said is so perfect, and it is, it's a perfect consistency where it just is so wonderful.
You know, when I think about making a marinade for lamb, or anything actually, I think about what's commonly used with it. I don't need to like reinvent the wheel every time. And when I think of lamb, I think of garlic, rosemary, and maybe some lemon. All kinds of Greek, Mediterranean flavors. So I'm gonna start with 4 big cloves of garlic. And instead of using the big food processor, I love this little mini chop. Just so convenient. I need 3 tablespoons of fresh rosemary. Unfortunately, I have a lot of it in my garden. Just peel it off the stems. Give it a big chop. There's something about the combination of lamb and rosemary. They just go together. So why fight it? I mean, if you wanted to do lamb and tarragon, the lamb would really sort of overpower the tarragon. But rosemary has that same kind of really like strong flavor that would stand up to it and complement it. My friend Frank's coming over. I know he loves lamb, so that's good. So that should be about 3 good tablespoons of rosemary. You don't have to cut it up so finely because I'm going to chop it up in the mini chop. You need a little oregano, 1½ teaspoons, 1½ teaspoons of salt, 3/4 teaspoon of pepper, and just give it a chop. Look how convenient this is. I love this. Sure beats chopping it up by hand. So I'm just going to mix the marinade right in the dish that I'm going to marinate the lamb in. So all of this just goes right in. And then I'm just going to add classic marinade ingredients. So first I have freshly squeezed lemon juice, about 1/2 cup. Really important for it to be fresh. 1/2 cup of olive oil. It's like making a vinaigrette, actually. Lemon juice, olive oil. Just pour it in. And then to add to the flavor, I'm going to add red wine to it. But you know, you really want to make sure it's a really good red wine. This is a good Côte d'Aron. 1/2 cup of red wine. I'm just going to stir these guys together. Just stir all the herbs and the lemon juice. So what I've done is I've taken a rack of lamb and I've asked the butcher to cut it into individual chops. I'm just going to put each one right in the marinade. So this is going to marinate for about at least 2 hours. If I have time to marinate it overnight, that's what I do. So this is 2 racks of lamb, which makes 16 individual chops. I think that's enough for Frank and me. Okay, I'm just going to wrap these up, put it in the fridge, and then I'm going to get the grill all set up. Ready to grill the lamb. It's been marinating in the garlic and rosemary, oregano. Just gonna sprinkle it with salt and pepper just before I put it on the grill. Okay, well, these are gonna cook really fast, like 4 minutes on each side. I've got a grill that has pretty hot coals, but it's just 1 layer. You don't wanna overcook these guys. Whoa! So this is rack of lamb, and if you can only buy a rack of lamb whole and you don't have a butcher, you can just cut it into chops yourself. It's quite easy. It's Frenched, which means that the bones are cleaned off. Where's Geoffrey when I need him? Okay. Hot mitt. Hot fire. So I can really smell the garlic and rosemary, and the lamb's gonna be just delicious. It's gonna be so good with the yogurt and mint sauce. Yum. Because there's so much oil in the marinade, I actually wouldn't pour more marinade on it. Otherwise, you'll have like an inferno. I mean, do these look delicious or what? I think the thinner ones are done. I'm just gonna put them on a platter and then let them rest. I'm gonna cover them with foil, let them rest for about 10 minutes, and then all the juices get back into the lamb. Ooh, these look so delicious. You know, by the time you get the small ones off, the bigger ones are ready, so. It's a good system. Boy, that is one gorgeous platter of rack of lamb. Cover it with foil and just let all the juices get back into it. what you want to be sure is don't ever put it back in the marinade, and don't use the marinade as a sauce because it had raw meat in it. Cover it like that. Cover it really securely so it stays hot. And while that rests, I'm going to get the rest of the meal ready. When I was thinking what kind of sauce would be good with the lamb, I thought classic Greek flavors again. So yogurt, mint. This is going to be delicious. I'm making a mint and yogurt sauce for it. First, I need a half a cup of chopped mint leaves. You know, I'm going to chop up the leaves. I can certainly measure a half a cup of leaves, but it's a whole different measurement when they're chopped leaves. And I think it's much more accurate. And I want the flavors to be exactly the right proportion. Okay, I'm just going to give it a big rough chop and then measure it. So the base of the sauce is yogurt, and then it's got all kinds of things: mint, dill, scallions to give it a little heat. It's going to have lots of flavor, so that should be about half a cup. Right into the food processor. 2 tablespoons of dill. Dill, just run your knife along the stems. The stems of dill are tender, so it doesn't really matter. So I'd say that's about 2 tablespoons chopped dill and 6 scallions. I'm just going to give them a rough chop because they're going to get cut up in the food processor. This is not the place for dried herbs. You want really that fresh sort of zing of fresh herbs. Put it right in. Now for a little heat, just a little pinch of red pepper flakes. Just give it a little punch. Tablespoon of olive oil. I'm going to make a paste, which I'm going to add the yogurt to. A little bit of lemon juice, about a tablespoon. We'll squeeze it right in. Okay, nice squeeze of lemon, just give it that fresh lemon hit. And just grind it up into a coarse paste. And that really releases all the fresh herb flavor. So I'm just going to add 7 ounces of yogurt. This is Greek yogurt, of course, since we're making Greek lamb, which is really thick yogurt. A teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of pepper. I think Frank's going to like this for lunch. And just give it a whir. So that's about as easy as the sauce gets, doesn't it? Just want to make sure it tastes great. I love all the green herbs in it. It's just fantastic. It's really tangy from the yogurt, and the mint is so clear, and all the herbs, oh, this is just delicious. It's going to be really good with the lamb. So because it's a really thick sauce, instead of pouring it over the lamb, I'm going to put it under the lamb. I'll show you. I'm just going to put it right down the middle of this plate, and then put the lamb right on top of it. The lamb's resting. When it's done, it's just going to go right down the middle of this platter. Well, how good does this look? Salad's done, the sauce is done. All I have to do is plate up the lamb. So I'm going to put the lamb on with their little legs crossing. Let's see how this goes. Just like that. And just rest them right on the sauce. Oh, they're so juicy. Grill some lamb and a man shows up. Works every time. So it's grilled Greek lamb.
With some fabulous sauce?
It's got a yogurt and mint sauce. So
That's fantastic.
You ready for a little dinner?
I am indeed.
Outside in the garden? What do you think, as long as we're talking about the garden?
That sounds great. Can I?
One more.
One more?
Yeah. Just like that. And maybe a little lemon on the end.
Perfect.
Just in case. Does that look
is
good?
Beautiful.
Okay, you take the lamb.
I got it.
I'll take the tomato salad.
Perfect.
We can imagine ourselves in Mykonos. Don't tell Geoffrey.
Homemade Sunday sauce, Katie, the kid, get us started.
All right, so I've got the onions here, got them all chopped up. You looking for me to bring that over to you, Jeff?
Yes, please.
Come on over to the Saucy.
All right, here we go. A nice bowl of onions, because I always know how many to add, right?
Always. Now, we seared off some neck bones, pork neck bones, very traditional in a big Sunday gravy. Ton of collagen, ton of fat, ton of flavor, ton of good meat that kind of falls off the bone after we braise it low and slow.
And sheep.
And, very, very inexpensive. Thank you. We got a bunch of Italian sausages in there, too. We rendered out that fat. Now we have this beautiful elixir in the pan, and we're going to build the base of our Sunday gravy off that, starting with the onions.
Don't put too many onions in the sauce.
Flavor of fat, okay?
All right? We don't want to do that, so we'll stir it all around.
salt.
I like to hit it with a little salt now, because we don't want too much color. We just want to build, make sure these are soft. Melt in your mouth. Lovely. Then I put a couple pinches of dried Italian seasoning, which has dried oregano, thyme, basil, and it sits in that oil and kind of blooms in that beautiful
I can
pork
already
fat.
smell it.
Alex, we got one more meat element in our Sunday gravy. What do you got?
You know, I'm on meatball duty, and I'm excited about it. I am doing the old school way, equal parts veal, beef, and pork.
That's right.
The 3 meat.
Sometimes they sell it all together in a little packet.
Yeah.
At the
Very
grocery
nice when they
store.
do
I'm like,
that.
thank you, butcher.
So the most important thing for me with meatballs is don't overwork them. And I just put the salt and the red pepper flakes right on the meat. Just
So
sprinkle
smart.
everything right on it. A lot of chopped parsley. I mean, a lot. We need that parsley to really... Breadcrumbs, just enough to hold them together. I mean, if they fall apart, you can always add a little bit more. 1 egg, just lightly beaten right in there. And then really, honestly, an obscene amount of cheese.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what you're looking. That's what's missing from a lot of home-style meatballs. It's like equal parts meat and cheese.
By then, you just really are just almost pinching it and not even mixing it together.
So
A
quick.
lot of controversy over whether to bake the meatballs, fry them, or pan fry them. I'm a pan fryer. I'm putting it out there. I always brown them. I can't stand it. And I love to put, and I clean that pan not by scrubbing it, but by pouring a little of the tomato sauce and deglazing and throwing all that brown bit right in the sauce.
Oh, you got it, because that you can't waste that. And I love the old school Nona method here of just throwing the perfectly sized meatballs directly on the
notice
cutting
what
board.
she's not overworking it, so it's not meatloaf.
All right, this is looking good. You smell the blooming of those dried Italian seasonings. The onions are softening up. Once you start to see them get a little translucent, we can go to the next step. Geoffrey's perfectly razor-thin shaved garlic right in there. It's gonna melt in the sauce, literally liquefy in the pan. All right? And we don't wanna leave that in there too long. Next comes the tomato paste, right? Just gives a magic body to the sauce. Always great to mingle with the garlic in there. They each take about 30 seconds to a minute to incorporate, and that's a good kind of clock to follow, right? When you put in your garlic, you put in your tomato paste, and you spread it around, and you kind of let things magically happen. Next comes the tomatoes. We're using San Marzano tomatoes. I like taking the whole San Marzanos, taking my immersion blender, and just blending them in a bowl or a big kind of a vessel like this. And we're gonna add those right in here. I mean, it can, but I mean, if you're gonna have, the bulk of this is tomato. You know, I'm gonna show you something, Sonny.
Oh, you're gonna water and rinse out?
This is the true way of the Italian-American spirit, right?
It's the true
As
way
my
of
grandma would do, as my
smart
mom would do.
peoples.
You have this leftover delicious tomato clinging to the sides of these cans. Do this in your sink, just a little water. And then I like to kind of pour it in one can, swizzle it around. It's all right, we're making messes today. This is home-style cooking, right? So you get every little nanogram of that tomato out of the can, back into here, swizzle it around into the sauce. This is gonna be a long cooking process,
We're
right?
gonna take our time.
So you need extra little water, a little extra liquid. You can keep these on hand.
That's just
all right.
percolating.
And then, of course, just a tear of basil, rip it right in there. And we can add that, obviously, as we go and as it finishes off, a little fresh basil. And once you taste it, a couple pinches of sugar, but only if the tomatoes need it, especially at the end when we retaste everything. Now you can see it start to move, right? I love it.
already smelling
Right?
good.
You
The
smell
house
it?
is gonna smell
and you see the
amazing.
little bubbles starting to protrude. That's when you can put all your meat back in and whatever juice has accumulated. The sausage, the neck bones. Slide it right in there, any juice. And what we're gonna do now, really as low as a simmer as you can go, for as long as it takes for that neck bone meat to get super soft and super pullable. And everything marries in there so nicely.
Tasty deliciousness.
My triple meat meatballs are just seared off and going right into this sauce. How's it looking in there?
Looks good in here. Looks good in here, guys.
Looks like it's finally done. Sonny, how is it? Are we good?
It's delicious.
good?
Sweet, tangy, tomatoey, meaty. It's got all the elements.
I cannot.
And now I am just adding a little layer of sauce on top and a little bit of meat. I'm assuming everybody wants meatball and sausage.
Yes.
And then we can all fight over the neck bones and a little bit of cheese. And that's how we're plating up our little saucy sauce.
So perfect. That's all you need to do. Simple.
Thanks, Nona.
These lists look beautiful. Look at this.
Oh, my
Look
God.
at the smell of the basil.
Thanks,
I'm gonna pretend
Nona,
I cooked it all by myself.
Oh, we got the garlic bread.
I'm making these gorgeous pulled pork sandwiches with a mango barbecue sauce that packs a little heat in the way of the serrano pepper that I just sliced up really finely. Now, some of you I know are more daring than I am. You could use 2 if you really like it spicy, but this is about all I can handle. I've got some onions and some ginger just sweating together, and this is a very traditional way to start an Indian dish. So this is how I'm adding a little Indian flavor to a very familiar thing that you've had probably all your life, barbecue sauce. So I'm gonna add some more Indian flavor in the way of these cumin seeds and some fennel seeds. So a little smokiness, a little licorice. So the mango puree is something a little different. If you can't find it in this pouch like I do, so use some mango juice and just cook it down. So whatever's easiest for you. But look at this color, it's so worth it. It's like sunshine in your pot. You can really smell those seeds coming together with the onion and the ginger and the serrano pepper. So I'm gonna add a little acid in the way of some lime juice. My husband introduced me to pulled pork. I'd never had it before. Now we bicker over it. Who's gonna get it? We go to restaurants. Lime juice is in. A little more acid in the way of some apple cider vinegar. Some molasses, which is Bren's favorite sweetener. And it's mine too because, it reminds me of this sweetener we use called jaggery, which is like pure cane sugar. It's dark like that. And then for a little tang, some Worcestershire sauce. This has a lot of tamarind in it, which is a very Indian ingredient. That really tangy taste that you get from Worcestershire goes really well with the mango. And just a little salt. And I'm just gonna let that simmer for 5 minutes while I make my rub for my pork. So I'm just gonna make a very simple rub here with some brown sugar, a couple tablespoons. I'm gonna add some paprika for some smokiness. And that's it, that's your rub. Pretty simple, huh? I remember I used to smoke my pork shoulder for the 4th of July. And then I make this barbecue sauce. And I swear, we always have 30 people at our house on the 4th of July. And they're literally lining up at the stove so they can have a pulled pork sandwich. Okay, so really rub this in. You're trying to get it into all those meat fibers. And that brown sugar is gonna help this caramelize in our sauce. So in our sweet little puppy goes our Boston butt into the sauce. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this up to a simmer, and then I'm gonna cover it and cook it for 3 hours until it's super tender, turning it every half hour so that it gets really nicely coated in that sauce. Oh, look how great she looks. And turn her down. And let's just see how tender she is, shall we? I love how the barbecue sauce is sort of darkened as it's taken on all that great flavor from the pork. Look at that gorgeousness. So I'm just gonna shred this. I'm gonna use just a couple forks. And that's how you know when it's done. If you can just pull it apart like this, oh, look at you, lusciousness. Look how that just fell apart. So I got these lovely buns straight out of the oven. This lovely shredded pork, nice and moist and tender, slightly caramelized. It's got that mango, some cumin, some fennel. I like to put a little bread and butter pickle on top of my sandwich, and it gives you this nice little crunch in the middle of your sandwich. That sounds so good. Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's so good.
3 sauce baked spaghetti. So I'm gonna start with sauce number 1, which is meat sauce. And I've got some olive oil in a very hot pan, and I just added onion, garlic, rosemary, green bell pepper, and finely diced jalapeno just to give it a little spice. I put in thin spaghetti, so it should be ready to go just about the time the sauces are ready. For any meat sauce I make, I do a combination of sausage and ground beef. I love the combination of ground beef and sausage. Okay, so I'm gonna mush up both meats, cook them with the veggies. It's just gonna take a few more minutes. So I'm gonna make it saucy by adding some tomato paste, about 1/4 cup, and then a whole jar of good quality marinara sauce. Whip out your favorite meat sauce, whatever it is. You can totally use your own for this recipe. Alrighty, I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper to the meat sauce, give it one more stir, and then it just needs to simmer. So that's sauce number 1. For sauce number 2, I'm gonna make a really simple Alfredo. So I'll add a whole stick of butter to a skillet. A whole bunch of heavy cream goes in with the butter. And then salt and pepper. And then I'm gonna turn the heat up under the skillet and just give the butter and cream a chance to heat up and let the butter melt completely. Okay, the cream and butter are hot, the butter's melted. So now's the time for the Parmesan. Parmesan is the basis of Alfredo sauce, so you've gotta add a lot in order for it to be noticed. All right, those 2 sauces are ready to go. Now I'm gonna bring up a baking dish and I'm gonna grab the spaghetti and it should be just right. All right, so I'm gonna put the pasta straight into the baking dish and lest you think I forgot about sauce number 3, I did not. Pesto is the 3rd sauce. This isn't something that really exists in the viral baked spaghetti recipe, but pesto is absolutely my love language. I add it to everything. And I thought it would be great to toss the spaghetti in pesto before I add the other 2 sauces. I'm gonna grab this absolutely sinful Alfredo sauce and it gets poured all over the pasta. Finally, I'm gonna grab this big old pot of meat sauce. And yes, it gets poured right over the Alfredo sauce. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a rim of pasta. God, this is gonna be mostly meat sauce, I tell ya. I've got some mozzarella cheese and it goes all over the meat sauce. So it's gonna go into a 425-degree oven for about 15 minutes and then I'll let it rest for 5. So, all right, I'm gonna see if I can do this in one shot. Ready? Look at this, you guys. Oh, that creamy Alfredo. I have tried this before, but I really think I should prove to you how very delicious it is. It is scrumptious.
So I'm gonna show you how to make my T-bone steak with easy Béarnaise sauce. The T-bone's already on, just salt and pepper, very simple. Sear it on both sides, on my flat top here so none of the juices drip down into there. And I'm gonna tint it, all right? Very smart. After you grill meat or cook meat, you wanna tint it before you actually cut into it so those juices can redistribute. Now, onto this easy Béarnaise sauce, which is really just like the child of a hollandaise sauce when you think about it. I do a 1, 2, 3 hollandaise sauce that I'm gonna zhuzh up and make it into Béarnaise. So the 1 is 1 stick of butter, melted. It's gonna go into my blender. Oh yeah, I'm doing it in the blender, okay? Now, to that, 2 egg yolks, okay? Put those in. And then 3 teaspoons of lemon juice. Typically, a Béarnaise has some white wine vinegar, but I'm subbing with lemon juice. A little salt. And blitz it. Okay. Slow it first. You want to aerate slightly. You want to bring it up. You want to go a little bit harder. Keep on going. Turn it up higher. Oh, now we're talking. All right, so now once everything is mixed in, and the blender's had a time to like incorporate some air into the situation, it's a good time to stop it and add in some of my fresh herbs. I'm gonna get this into my double boiler over here, only really because it's kind of chilly out here, but plus, we all know once it's not warm anymore, it's not a real good sauce. You wanna keep it nice and warm. All right, Now, let me get the herbs into the game plan. Usually you'll see like tarragon, but I love fresh thyme, so I'm gonna just get that right in there. A little bit of red onion, chopped up nice. Get that in there as well. And then some fresh chive. Why not? Get a little classy with it. I love chives. You know, this would be great on so many things. On asparagus, got the chives good to go. Gonna shuffle those into my sauce. Give it a nice fold. You know what really makes a Béarnaise sauce is that oniony flavor, right? So we got the chives in there, the red onions. All right, time for the steak. Now, let me get this into my little bowl here so that I might serve it classy-like. At home, I would just go straight to the table with this bowl, but we would like to present you some classic recipes today. I gotta tell you, this is perfect for a date night. And like I said, anything you can imagine hollandaise on, Béarnaise. So asparagus that you grill, any kind of really roasted vegetables would be great. So let me get that T-bone. Now remember, this is just very simple. Get it onto the grill. Look at how beautiful that T-bone is. And then, very easy, right over the top. The child of a mother sauce, Béarnaise. Oh yeah, all over it, all over it. And there you have it.
Today, you get to learn about my signature cheeseburger. You ready? First, just a little bit of mayonnaise. Some roasted garlic. Yellow mustard. I know. You're seeing it all. A little Worcestershire sauce. Touch of some salt. Cracked black pepper. So everything you love about mayonnaise, the fat, the creaminess, the saltiness, all we did was amp it up and take the flavor another level. That's donkey sauce. All right, donkey sauce is done. What do we need next? The SMC, the super melted cheese. You gotta promise you're not gonna show anybody this. Now, in this pot, I have a little bit of water already going. Now I'm gonna add some half and half. This, we gotta go low and slow. I have some processed cheese, all cubed up, and we're gonna bring this temperature up nice and easy so it doesn't break. We'll go in with a little bit of Worcestershire and just a little kiss of some Tabasco. It's not gonna be hot, but you get the idea. We need to just have a little bit of heat in there, okay? So we're gonna let this go low and slow. And as that processed cheese starts to melt a little bit, we're gonna add in some of my other favorite cheeses. You could go with a double boiler with this. I don't think it's necessary. If you just don't crank the heat, you won't burn it, you won't scorch it. Just take your time. Processed cheese starting to melt a little bit. Now we're gonna back it up with some real cheese. We're gonna get in some smoked Gouda. And again, we shred it really thin and give it a chance to melt nicely. We'll get in with some cheddar, shredded really finely. Whisk would also be a nice thing to do, but as always, I just have one utensil. If I could make this into a knife and a fork and a pair of tongs all at the same time, like a gigantic Swiss Army knife, tell you, I'd be going places. A little provolone. There we go. Now it's really starting to work for us. Beautiful. Now, one of the real keys to this cheese sauce is to hand shred it so you don't get that funky little dust that they put on the outside of the cheese to keep it from coagulating when it's inside the bag. I mean, I'll tell you one thing about buying cheese. Buy that whole block and shred it yourself. We'll just keep the cheese sauce warm. It's ready to go. Beautiful. Okay, next up, the burger. Now, what we have here is 80-20 ground beef. And when we're talking about making great burgers, if I'm getting everybody over and we're gonna do it, I would recommend going to the butcher and saying, grind me up a little bit of brisket, give me some short rib, and give me some chuck. If you're gonna do it right. We've got about 1.5 pounds here, so this should make us about 4 6-ounce patties. My favorite way to do it, just to make sure that we're keeping everybody even, because you know with 2 boys, if you don't make the patties even, someone's gonna be upset that someone got a bigger one. Okay, so we take the patty, we're gonna ball it up. Don't press it super hard. Now, I want you to just I want you to do this at home. I want you to just hit that salt all the way around. Roll that salt all the way around with your favorite kosher salt, and it's seasoned. No pepper, nothing else, just like this. I have my flat top over here, but since I know that you might not have one at home, I want to show you how to do this with a cast iron. If you don't have cast iron, I want you to go get one. Sporting goods stores have them galore. Go to Camp Chef, anybody's got them. But really good cast iron is the way to go, and we're gonna drop this down. There we go, that's what we're looking for, okay? Cold meat hot pan. While that's going, wash my hands real quick. Smash of the patty. Seasoned all the way around. One over the top. Sometimes you'll see people do it with a big hand press. That's what I'm looking for. And you only get to smash it once, folks. Brioche bun. Get a little bit of this garlic butter on there. As soon as we see some of the juice float to the top, we're gonna flip it and try to put it in another spot where it wasn't just exactly at. And that's what we're looking for, that nice crust, that Maillard effect on top. Smoky smells burgers. We're gonna treat both sides of the bun. Now, gotta get this working real quick. Gonna take some of the cheese sauce. This is a little hot, so it's gonna run a bit on us, but you'll get the general idea. When it cools down, it's a little bit easier to apply to it. We're gonna take the cheese sauce, throw it right up on top. Throw the cheese on top. Dome and some water. This steam is gonna help melt that cheese better than any salamander putting it under the broiler. So like this. This is just the exact way we do it in the restaurant. Guy's Kitchen and Bar, Guy's Burger Joint, you go on Carnival Cruise Lines, you watch what they're doing. This is exactly how it goes down. Okay? A little bit of the donkey sauce. Liberally, we call it coast to coast. Want to get that fat all the way across. Hit a few pickles right on the bottom. Pickles are key, gotta have that acid, gotta have that tang. Really thin onions. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. That's melted cheese right on top of it. Thin sliced iceberg lettuce, a couple thin sliced tomatoes, nice toasted brioche bun, and ladies and gentlemen, that's the burger. That cheeseburger right there, we won New York City Food and Wine Festival, Burger Bash. We've sold hundreds of thousands of these. But I want you to take a look at it. Juicy, scratch-made, handmade. My mouth is watering so bad. Are you ready? I gotta be honest with you. It's a simple burger. It's a simple recipe. You just gotta use great ingredients, and you gotta follow the rules. You're gonna serve it just like we do at the restaurant.
Pasta with tomato cream sauce is exactly what it sounds like. It's a cross between red sauce and white sauce, and it is so divine. Now, the sauce starts with diced onion and a little bit of garlic. I've been sauteing it in a little olive oil and a little butter just to give it great flavor. The onions are nice and soft, so I'll add 2 cans of just plain old tomato sauce. You can also use good marinara sauce, but I really like to keep it plain and simple. Okay, now I'll stir this around and get it going. Now I'll add a little salt and pepper. And then because it's just plain tomato sauce, I'll add in a little sugar just to counteract that acidity. Now the sauce just needs to simmer and cook for about 15 minutes. Okay, the sauce has been cooking away and it looks great. It still has about 10 minutes to go, so I'll go ahead and throw in the pasta. I like to use fettuccine because I love the way the tomato cream sauce coats the noodles. This way, the pasta and the sauce should be ready at the same time. Okay, the tomato sauce is all ready. Now I need to add the cream. And I'll warn you, this is a transcendent experience. I add about 3/4 of a cup to a cup. Oh gosh, that image of the cream swirling into the red sauce, there is nothing like it. So now to make it even more decadent and delicious, I'll grate up some Parmesan. The beauty of this tomato cream sauce is you can eat it just as it is, or you can add in little strips of grilled chicken, some sauteed shrimp. It's a great base for any pasta dish. Okay, I think that ought to be enough Parmesan. I'll save a little to sprinkle on top, and I'll just stir this in. The sauce is just perfect. Now the pasta should be done. I'll just drain most of the water out. Oh boy. This is where I start feeling really, really happy inside. Now I'll just use tongs to move the pasta all over the sauce. Just toss it gently. Oh my gosh, it looks perfect. Now the very, very last thing, I'm gonna chop up some basil. I'll just roll up the leaves and just give them a rough chop. And they just get sprinkled all over the top. All right, I cannot wait another second to dig into this. One of my favorite comfort foods in the entire universe. Okay, just a little bit more cheese. Utter bliss, utter contentment, utter comfort food right here.
Crispy chicken thighs with mustard sauce. So I have 8 chicken thighs. I'm just gonna pat them dry. I'm gonna season them really well with salt and pepper. And then I'm gonna turn them over and do the same thing again. Now I've got a really big cast iron pan. I'm gonna put a few tablespoons of olive oil in. Skin side down, put them all in. They're gonna cook for 15 minutes and don't touch them. I'm gonna turn them over and cook them for 15 minutes on the other side. I have 2 cups of yellow onions that I sliced. I'm gonna take the chicken out of the pan and then make the sauce. So I'm gonna put in a splash of white wine. I'm gonna add 8 ounces of creme fraiche, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, a teaspoon of whole grain mustard. Then I'm gonna put in about a tablespoon of parsley and give that whole thing a big stir. Now I'm just gonna put the chicken back in, a little parsley on top, and that's it.